Blood for the Blood God. We're doing the Blood Angels. It's the most accurate Warhammer 40,000 podcast around, the Large Blast podcast. I'm your host, Stoney, joined as always by Matt.
I've got a bloodlust, baby.
And Welshie.
I'm black and angry.
And we're here today to talk about some of our favourite boys, the blonde-haired, spiky-teethed boys of the Blood Angels. But before we do that, we like to get things kicked off with a little thing we call Hobbies Goings On. So, Matt, what's happened in your hobbies goings on?
Same projects really that I was working on last time. I don't think I've actually started a new project.
Is this the
Since we
project
last
of
spoke.
weighing down your son's future with all your old Warhammer?
Well, that continues. Although I did sell something on eBay, the
Oh, hang on.
Sentinel that I lost.
On the buying Warhammer front, I'd like to know, Matt, after raving about them last episode, did you pay £127 for the Vestroyan kit?
No.
Oh, I didn't think you would.
No, actually, it all sort of passed me by. And the other day, I noticed by flicking on Facebook that they must have been live. People were talking about them in the Imperial Guard group, and I had a quick look at the prices, and I thought, nah, they still work out as I think as cheaper than eBay. So, no, but I thought not because I happened to pick up my Armageddon tank box that I ordered a few weeks ago. Picked that up from the old Dice Saloon.
Nice.
And that's gone into the pile. But I think I might make one of the little, I don't know what the fighting support vehicles, the little tracked wheeled vehicles. Might make one of them
Hippogriffs, is
soon.
they called something like that?
Hippogriff, yeah, it's a hippogriff.
Yeah.
And I picked up the box when I was playing. I had a morning of playing Epic Imperialis or whatever it's called.
I saw this. You were playing with some Praetorian Guard.
Well, they were Napoleonic 6 mil figures. I mean, we had tanks and everything, but Neil doesn't have enough infantry to have two armies, so he brought along Napoleonic infantry, so redcoats, and therefore they fitted well into Praetorian. So I had a Praetorian infantry company and armored company. We just played tanks and infantry. So we had no Titans and Walkers and no aircraft, just to keep the rules simple. I do like it as a game system.
How
I mean,
long does it take? How long does a game take?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say we were playing properly.
Not,
By
I'd
any
say
means.
with your Napoleonic Guard out there with their blunderbusses or whatever.
I don't know. I reckon competitively, it's probably the same as 40k.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's quicker, but it's more of a traditional war game. So it's you go, I go in deployment, putting down units, and then you go, I go in other elements of the game, and you kind of do all the shooting together, and then you do all of the combat together, and you have to do orders before you start moving stuff, and you hide that. Yeah, but it's quite good. It's a bit different to Warhammer, but it's more of a traditional war game. So that was my big thing, getting in some gaming, and still resisting the urge to buy some of the little tanks because the models they're just so good, like the Bane Blades and the Lehman Russ tanks. They're just so good.
Don't do it. You don't need another game system.
No.
Think of your son's future.
Yeah.
It's the albatross around his neck that is his dad's hobby. Anyway, Welshie, what have you been up to?
I painted old metal war boss I've had lying around for a while. Did a little video for that out on the Shorts channel, which was quite fun. I tried to paint it like a second edition color scheme, like more bright, like goblin green orcs, lots of red, black,
Nice.
green checks, nothing else. Which was quite fun to do something a bit different. And I've just been sticking together loads of stuff. So I've putting together my night box that I didn't want and I still don't really want, but I still bought anyway. Um, and I actually played a game of Kill Team on the weekend. So I went to Desert Fest for the metalheads listening. And before we went to our first show, we played a game of Kill Team, got 2 turns in, and then finished it after Desert Festival
No way.
a little bit dizzy. Came back and did the final 2 turns. And as a result, I picked up a Necron Canoptech Circle kill team from my mate Jim, who I'd split the box
Nice.
set with.
Nice.
So yeah, an excellent day of metal, Warhammer, and Necrons. So
Nice.
yeah.
So you didn't have to take the kill team to Desert Fest.
I did not. I went to his house first.
Uh,
We left the game board set up, went off for some excellent British heavy metal, and then came back and finished the game.
That is definitely. If I was in the midst of a mosh pit and I saw someone sat on the floor painting some Warhammer, I would help defend them, keep them safe. They must be treasured. Doesn't matter where they are.
We have discussed taking Kill Team to 2000 Trees Festival this year, because all you need is a very small board and you can fit your whole Kill Team in like a Tupperware.
Let's do
So
it.
yeah, I think that could be quite fun in the mornings before the music starts. I've always wanted to do it at Download Festival because there's so many Warhammer players at Download
You should
Festival.
do-
Like
Well,
the
is
Venn
it possible-
diagram is a circle.
Is it possible to make two music themed kill teams? Like, could you have like the sound guys, obviously the noise marines,
Yeah.
right? But can you the orc rocker? Because the other orc,
yeah.
could you just have
Oh, you could
how many
definitely put
orc
him in an orc
rockers could
team.
you have?
Yeah, definitely. I
Maybe-
reckon so. You could
Oh.
do a pretty cool like Harlequin team. They're pretty Judas Priesty,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
Studded leather.
At least like one of the members of Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got the Emperor's Children kill team, so I'll take that on your behalf, Stoney.
All right, cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be a great idea. Like out in front of in your camping zone where everyone can see you playing.
Yeah,
You'd make so many friends.
I reckon so. Maybe not at Trees, but at Download where you see bolt thrower jackets every 20th person. That's the place to do it.
You just have people over your shoulder telling you what to do at something like that. If there's that many bolt thrower fans, it would get like you'd feel the gut pressed against your side.
Your
as you
Emperor's
leant in.
Children is wearing the wrong shade of pink.
Yeah, you'd smell the pie-based fart, the Yorkshire
My
pudding
base
dinner.
part. The ale on the breath as he leans in and whispers.
Monster Energy.
Re-roll that 6. What about you, Stoney? What have you been up to, mate?
Well, I've just been like super fucking busy really since last time we spoke. So I haven't actually like managed to do anything kind of Warhammer related, except for just print a bunch of the other stuff that I already have. Like I
Nice.
don't, because that's the thing is all I've got is the printer working, and I don't really have time to do anything. So I'm like, what if I print this bit a little bit smaller? Beat print, and then like, so I've just got loads of pointless models that I've sort of lost track of what each one is and what the differences between them are. So
Too many prototypes.
I've got too many prototypes, and they all basically look the same. So that's a bad element of prototypes. So yeah, so I've just been printing shit. I was listening to some Warhammer lore stuff today whilst I was at work to get ready for this episode, and I did notice. Have you ever tried to listen to? I think we talked about it before. The Remembrancer. Who's I think he was the guy that we talked about who was getting done for
the AI.
They thought
thing.
he was an AI fella.
Right,
and like
okay.
I kind of see because I was listening to a couple of them today, and then I was like, who is this guy? Because he's got really good information, but like the voiceover is so fucking annoying. It really does sound kind of like an AI guy, and like I don't know if I'm just slagging this guy off, so I don't want to like be like mean about it or anything, but like he's doing like I think he's doing these like voices for it, and I don't know if this is a recent thing or if this is part of the thing that's got him tagged for being AI, because he sounds really like I was listening to the Blood Angels one, and it's like a 2-hour long lore thing, and he's doing like a faux posh Blood Angels voice like the whole way through. I'm like, what the fuck? And like I was listening to another one. He had another one about like Traz in the Infinite, and he's got like a fake robot voiceover like thing on it, and it's like
For the whole
thing,
thing.
and they're
Oh
like
my
fucking
God.
long. But then randomly, there's loads of other YouTube lore videos where I can't work out if they've like mastered the AI David Attenborough voice. Have you seen any
there's
of
loads
those?
like that,
that's
mate, where
the
they just upload a script
David
and it
Attenborough
reads
stuff.
it out.
Yeah.
It's got like
what,
a kind of a
what we need is more fucking like dyslexic people trying to read Necron names. That's what
the
people
only
are
way.
here for.
That's they could never. AI will never take my job.
Finance cutting into technology. Accurate information is the Large Blast podcast news. Hear every episode.
Fuck off, Siege Studios. We don't need you anymore. We've got a pre-painted scenery now from Games Workshop. That's right, it's over. You don't need to paint nothing anymore. Throw away your paints, throw away your brushes. Those days are gone. Why buy unpainted models like a fucking idiot when you could get them already painted by only the best around, Games Workshop? What's going on with this then?
This is potentially revolutionary for the hobby. This is the announcement that GW are forced into because of some leaks in a classic. There's been a leak. We need to get a video out quickly. Terrain, big old battlefield ruins that comes painted on the sprue. You chop it out, you stick it together. It's already coloured.
Yeah, I saw a few people in the community being slightly shocked by this, but I don't think I was that shocked by it, to be honest. I remember when contrast paints, there was rumors of something before we went to that presentation at Games Day and watched them declare to the world about contrast paints. We knew there was something coming up, and I remember prior to Games Day, the rumors, people's ideas were pre-painted miniatures. And is this pre-painted terrain different to the cardboard terrain that you used to get, like in the old Necromunda stuff? Some of the old classic terrain was painted. You could buy a hill that was pre-flocked. Is it that different? You could still spray it and paint it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Is this not them surrendering? They're giving up to the fact that, like, if you want to be someone that's going to make terrain, you could make something like this pretty fairly easily. Do you know what I mean? If they know that you can go on YouTube and watch a wicked video about how to make some cool terrain, like, pretty easily, just as good as anything that they would make. But they know that, oh, right, well, who's going to buy this? People that can't be fucked. And they just need the terrain that's going to fill our new terrain rules. And it's pre-made, and there it is. Or you could just paint over it yourself or whatever, or add a little bit, or this, that, and the other.
And
yeah, I think this is good. I think this is good for people that can't be asked to paint terrain. I paint all my terrain, and I still will. I'm not going to buy this pre-painted stuff. I'll still paint it, but I fucking hate it. It's a massive waste of time that I'd rather spend painting models. And if you're not really into painting anyway, I'd much rather go around your house and play with some.
But that's just it. It's the convenience that you're paying for the pre-made terrain in the first place. And then if it's like, and now it's painted as well, fucking sign me up. I'll buy 2 boxes instead of 1.
I did notice that they showed off the cardboard tiles for the pre-sized terrain for the new edition, which we've sort of mentioned before. So presumably this terrain, not only is it pre-painted, is also the right size for the new 11th edition games.
And I wonder whether they will be... So I was watching a little bit explaining how this stuff works, because I was quite interested, like, how are they actually doing this? And it's kind of like a UV cured paint that they spray on. So it's a bit like an inkjet printer that gets sprayed, and the needle goes up and down, and it sprays at different heights with different velocities.
Cool.
But it can only do certain depths. So it looks really good and crisp on, like, a terrain slice, because the variation in height across the piece is not more than about 5 mil.
Right.
But they were saying, like, is this the first step towards fully painted miniatures? And it seems like the technology is not quite there yet to get the variation within a miniature. But on stuff like this, it's fine. However, they're not the first company to do it, just like they weren't the first company to do contrast paints, but they are the biggest one. And when they were looking at the prices from some other companies that do this, it's about 10 to 20%, 20% in most cases, more than the unpainted. So you are going to be paying a premium for this. That's for sure. If this is the terrain designed for the new rule set, there's the option to get it unpainted and save yourself a bit of money if you want to do it yourself.
But this will make, if it is it must be the right size for the new rule book and stuff.
Yeah.
Which means that so many games will be immediately more aesthetically pleasing to the eye, like than just having terrain that's just unpainted. We all kind of end up with a box of terrain from Games Workshop. Yeah, it can be a struggle to get painted, but it always looks much better when it has been painted.
It's funny though, because
I'm on
one
board
of the
with this.
things that Games Workshop has always had its own aesthetic, you know, like when you see the stuff in the magazines and stuff like that, that was always the Games Workshop aesthetic. But you knew that when you went round your mate's house, you were going to be playing on like one of those mats that had like the
Pringle tins.
car roads on, and like
Mhm.
in a way, like kind of the sort of aesthetic for like homemade Warhammer is quite different from the one that's imagined by Games Workshop, you know, with
It's
some
definitely
like
not better than an average hobbyist can manage.
yeah. I'm not necessarily all behind it, but I think that definitely if you're in a fix, if you need to put on a tournament in a hurry, then like
Yeah.
this is your go to, this is your place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to make a killing out of this when it comes
Oh
out.
yeah. So some of the best sideburns in the Imperial Guard have finally got a model. It's Caiaphas Kane and his little buddy finally got a model, Matt. This is good. This has been Imperial Guard summer, I think, is on the way, right? It's happening.
Yeah, it has. It has, hasn't it? And this is a like basically a Valhalla miniature completely out of the blue. I mean, not only has it been a guard summer, it's been like real commissar summer. There's been like 5 releases of new commissar models in the space of what, like a month.
Yeah.
The guard obviously need a bit of discipline. Yeah, I mean, this is like completely out of the blue. They're they're really nice models. I just Commissar Kane's face is just a bit like a gorilla.
He looks a bit like a chimp, doesn't he? He doesn't look quite as like handsome as he does in the artwork behind him
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
picture. It's an odd sculpt. I know what they've gone for. They've tried to go with that kind of smarmy smirk that he's kind of known for. But I think what's happened is his kind of smile lines have faded into his epic sideburns. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's a mustache. I think it might just be the painting. I reckon you can get round it.
I think they've
Um,
accidentally put one of the halfling rattling sniper heads
Yes,
on a
it is.
yeah,
on
that's
a
what it
guard
looks
card.
like.
That's the thing I keep thinking whenever I see it is the rattling snipers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit odd, but
It's a cool
I mean,
model
I
though.
love this character,
Mm.
and I love that they've done Jurgen with him. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you boys read many of the Kane books? Sandy Mitchell,
Yeah.
Oh
A couple of
yeah.
the
yeah,
older ones.
amazing.
All of them.
So it's great to see Jurgen with him, right? Like looking dirty, looking like he's got an unwashed hat. My only issue with it was I was chatting to old Jimmy Bignuts about this the other day. Why isn't his cloak dirty? Like Jurgen's whole thing is that he's like stinks and he's horrible and everyone hates him because he's basically a
Isn't
null,
that
right?
just the paint job?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Why haven't they
Mm.
painted him
Yeah.
dirty? It feels like a really odd choice for a character that's fully explained in the books. But great
Yeah.
that he's got his trusty melter with him.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, this could
okay.
be at some point he must have been clean, right? This could
Right,
just
this
be
is right
at
at the
that point.
He's only just been given that new coat.
Yeah, this is the prequel to before the books.
Yeah. But these yeah, I mean, aside from the slightly funny face, the commissar model is great. It's a great model, and to get a new Valhalla sculpt, we must have mentioned him in the last couple of episodes, but you know, again, this could be the beginnings of a Valhalla kill team.
Yeah, it's cool to see how they do it with the big coat, and they almost look more like Midwest American than they do like Russian. Do you know what I mean? He almost looks a bit more like Fargo style
Yeah.
than
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Russian military. Yeah, I think these are cool. I'm probably gonna pick these up just because I like the character. It's great that Gaunt's got a model now. He's got a model. Like, you know, who's the female one? Severina Rain. She's
Oh
got a
yeah.
book series.
Yeah.
She's got a
I've
model.
got her. Yeah, I've got her. Is that the commissar?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I've got her painted.
Without being the sexy
Yeah.
one. You
Yeah.
know the one I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got that model. Yeah.
It's
That's a
it's
great
just
commissar
cool.
model as well.
It's nice. I remember way back when we talked to Gav Thorpe and he talked about the lore driving the models. So it's really nice to see these characters that have had extensive lore finally get models. It's cool.
Hmm.
And you imagine he'd be a beast as well, because he's a pretty good jeweler, right? He's won some. I know he gets a lot of luck. Maybe Jurgen will be like a Macarai type fella, but
Oh yeah.
he,
Yeah.
he is a pretty good swordsman. He's like blocked Khorne berserkers and stuff in the books. So
Well, that's why he looks so smug.
Yeah. And he bangs all the chicks. He's a real ladies'
There you
man.
go. It's them sideburns.
Rolling in my 6-4.
This is a prepaid call from
It's Fat Les from Shady Ethics PR Company.
an inmate at the county correctional facility. To accept this call, press 1 now.
Alright lads, don't despair. It's the old buddy Fat Les here. Just checking in on some of my favourite angels. How have you guys been? Sorry for the delay in getting back to you. I've been moving offices, if you know what I mean. Lockdown in 10 minutes! Word around town is you boys are going to be on the front and centre of the Certain Workshop's new release. You boys have had the spotlight in the past, but this ain't the glory days of 2nd edition anymore. No. If you take your eye off the ball for even a second, you pass it all back into the power-gloved hands of that prick Calgar. Well, not on my watch, me old Chinas, because I've got a plan to keep you lads in the headlines for a long time to come. So, first things first, we're going to have to downplay this whole vampire connection, yeah? So there's a few topics of conversation I'm going to need you to just steer clear from, alright? Number 1, you're quite pale, so presumably that means you're not great in the sun, and that's a no-no. I've sent you over a couple of fake tan spraying servitors, and I want you working the bollocks off those things. I want the whole chapter looking like it's just come back off a Caribbean cruise. Next, I've booked you lads a mass trip to Turkey to get them spiky teeth sorted out. I got a really good deal on them, but there is a minor catch, so I'm wondering how you might feel about changing your name to the Llama Smile Studio Dental Work Surgery Angels. But, whatever, we can discuss those details later, because third, and most importantly, you should really try not to mention the whole drinking blood thing, yeah? That's just out for everybody. I put it to the control group and they really felt that the blood drinking thing was a bit of a smoking gun when it came to the accusations of vampirism. Anyway, give me a call if you lads get the chance, yeah? And if you feel up to launching a drop pod full of synthetic weed and vape pens into the prison, I would really appreciate it. See you later.
Right, so welcome to this, everybody. The first of a two-parter on the Blood Angels. That's right, we're going to do things a little differently. Blood Angels this episode and Sanguinius next episode. Let's get things started with a little bit of history on the Blood Angels.
Yeah, so we'll do a bit more detail of some of the major campaigns in the Horus Heresy when we're actually talking about Sanguinius, because he's the key player on them. But a quick summary of where the Blood Angels came from. They are obviously the 9th Legion, originally known as the Revenant. Before Sanguinius was found, the 9th Legion were just kind of like particularly bloodthirsty, undisciplined, kind of savage legion that was kind of hidden away from view, and they were sent off to deal with all of the like horrible, wild places and worst fights at the start of the Great Crusade. They earned some names for that. They were called the Emperor's Inferno for a while, and the Eaters of the Dead, because it was around this time that people started noticing that the Revenant Legion had a penchant for drinking blood and at times chowing down on corpses.
Allegedly.
Untrue.
Well, this is why it was all hidden, and that's why they were sent off to the far-flung corners. But rumours of them being a little bit unreliable started to kind of come to the forefront. And it's why initially they start specialising in line and jump troops that we see so much of in 40k today, is because basically the Mechanicum didn't trust to send them anything else. They were like, no, we're not going to send our brand new tanks to these like blood-drinking, flesh-eating, undisciplined legion that doesn't even have a Primarch. So they just kind of got used to being on foot and kind of looking after themselves.
And they did they did enjoy it though, didn't they? They liked to get in
so.
there. That seemed to be their sort of big thing, was they were pretty bloodthirsty bastards right from the offset.
Absolutely. And then, as we'll find more about next episode, Sanguinius is found. And he's for a while, he's kind of kept away from this Revenant Legion. I don't know whether the Emperor decides that he wants to train Sanguinius up before he meets this Legion. Maybe Sanguinius at that time is a little bit like untempered himself. But anyway, Sanguinius spends like 3 years with the Lunar Wolves learning from Horus. before he's united with the Legion. But eventually he is, and he imposes discipline on the Legion, and he does it through art. So they go and they sit down and they do, like, I don't know, rage therapy, maybe like finger painting on the walls. They sit down, maybe they do what's it called, special time, or what's where you pass the little toy round and you're only allowed to talk for, like, where you've got the toy in your hands. Maybe the toy's full of blood, who knows? But essentially Sanguinius comes and he calms them down and he shapes them into a more disciplined Legion, which I think Matt's going to talk about in a second, but they still have this flaw of wanting to drink blood, which is known as the Red Thirst.
So Baal is synonymous now with the Blood Angels. It's a world in the Segmentum Ultima, and it's actually a world that's got two inhabited moons that orbit it, which are called Baal Prime and Baal Secundus. And in ancient days, Baal and its moons had Earth-like atmospheres. They were lush paradises, and the world of Baal was kind of a dusty world, dusty red world. But the moons were paradises, and humans lived there. They were old colonies of Earth. But at some point towards the end of the Dark Age of technology, weapons of mass production destroyed the surfaces of the moons, and somehow people survived. They managed to live in the radioactive deserts, and in time they became like scavengers, and there was lots of desperation, and at some point potentially turns to cannibalism. And over many centuries, the chemical and the radioactive toxins built up in their bodies and the survivors' bodies, and they began to devolve into mutants. It all turns a bit Mad Max. So they've got some technology, but they're also mining the old technology and sort of making things work. It's getting pretty desperate. The society is like barely clinging on. It's about to fall apart when suddenly through the stars lands a winged angel, and that's when Sanguinius appears, which we'll talk about next episode. But suffice to say that he has a massive impact on the society, and the world is still pretty devastated now. There's no reconstruction really, but there's the massive Arax Angeliculum, the Arax Angelicum, which is the Blood Angels Fortress Monastery, which is built on the world of Baal. And during the heresy, the colonies, proper imperial colonies, were re-established on the moons, but they're still wrecked by this dark age of technology weapon systems 10,000 years prior. So even in 40K, they're just a bit Mad Max, but the Blood Angels themselves have kind of risen some of the population to perfection because the Blood Angels do recruit.
Didn't Baal get super fucked up whilst they were away defending Terra? Like somebody went and fucked up. Was it the Alpha Legion or somebody? They went and
Baal's
fucked up
been fucked up a few times.
Right.
Baal's been banged around. Most recently, the devastation of Baal, which was High Fleet Leviathan, which our boy Dante defended. But there's been loads of fights on Baal. I think some of the main ones in the Horus Heresy we'll come back to when we're talking about Sanguinius doing them. But it's interesting that I always think it's interesting that Baal is this kind of like ravaged desert, like you say, Matt, almost a bit Mad Max planet, because when you think of the Blood Angels, they are the most ornate, perfect, blonde-haired, artists and artisans, but they're kind of recruited from this world of dust.
Yes,
but that's what they're all about. It's like making something out of nothing, isn't it? It's
exactly.
About like
making, and they're kind of, I guess, like the Imperial Fists and the Iron Warriors. They're kind of the yin to the yang of the Emperor's Children in a way. They're kind of their artistic ideals of perfection, and I'll go into maybe why they're a bit like that when I talk about the Legion's tactics or the nature of the Legion. But certainly
you could say that that the Blood Angels, and I think this is in like one of the Sanguinius novels where he's explaining the difference between them. Someone raises that, like, aren't you both the artisans? And he says that the Blood Angels appreciate the flaw making the art.
Mm.
So it's the thing that's slightly wrong that makes art. It isn't perfection because
Okay.
Yeah.
perfect isn't the best. It's the flaw.
I think as well,
That's interesting.
there's like, whenever, we've all been like kind of like 14 or whatever and heard like a kind of a Rage Against the Machine song or something and be like, yeah, music can change the world, kind of like
Yeah.
that sort of feeling of like kind of like art having like a real power to change things. I feel like they both have that.
Oh, they definitely
Whereas
have that.
like the way it's applied with like Sanguinius, like like you say, it is kind of like art therapy where they will sit around going like, oh, how do we not go like fucking mental? Oh, let's do art and shit. Like, whereas like with Sanguinius, with Fulgrim and that, it's like he seeks perfection for so much that it actually makes him mental. It's like the opposite.
Yeah. Talking of fighting and therapy to try and not make them go mental. Obviously, I found it interesting just reading about Baal, how there were hints of cannibalism in the society that almost predates imperial finding and certainly predates Sanguinius.
But it was a hard life. It was a hard
it
Mad
was
Max
very
style
hard
life.
Yeah. But obviously their flaw is like what gives the Blood Angels their real identity. It's their real sort of point of interest, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think the main flaw that they have, especially at this stage, is they've got this red thirst, right? Which is where all the vampire stuff comes from. These guys need to drink blood. It's not like it's just something they need to do. If they don't drink blood, they go mad. And as a result, they do drink blood. And it's kind of weird for these perfect people to have to drink blood. But in a very aristocratic way, they mix it with wine and call it Karash.
We're talking like Great Crusade era, so like the height of the Imperium of science of the Emperor is not a god. Yeah, they're feeling the need to drink blood.
Definitely, and I think maybe even, I don't know, maybe this is something they were thinking, but I've always thought there's that disease, isn't there, porphyria, which is what people think is what like vampires originally come from, and it was one of those things that was a bit like TB that made people look beautiful in like the olden days because they get real pale if you've got this disease, and it is
right.
like a lack of part of your bloodstream. And there's thoughts that the vampire myths come from these people who have this porphyria disease and they need like excess iron and it leads them to eat like raw liver and drink blood and stuff. And I always think of that. There's this kind of like link to this kind of like emaciated, pale skin beauty that is kind of associated with the Blood Angels.
Yeah.
Well, I think they are like that, aren't they? They're like they get like blonde, sort of spiky teeth and like all of that sort of stuff, don't they?
Absolutely. And if they don't get blood, they are lost to the red thirst. And it says in some, I don't know whether this was from like old lore or not, but it was on one of the like lore sites where they like fall onto all fours and like run like a gorilla in their canines grow, and they get like
they go sort of
real
like,
old kind of vampire
like proper
stuff.
like feral. They are Beauty and the Beast. It seems like cannibalism was a lot more integrated in the old lore because wasn't there that whole shit about like how Space Marines could like eat brains or something? And then they
that's
like,
one of the
like
stuff.
They can learn
lore
things.
explanations is that they're like omophagia, which is the organ that they see the memories of the things they eat is like hyperactive in the Blood Angels, and that kind of
but is that still a part of the lore, or is that something that they've
the
haven't mentioned for a while?
I think it's been the red thirst has almost been like superseded in terms of an issue by the more recent issue,
which I think you could say is possibly linked to the omophagia as well, which is to have very vivid access to past memory, be it the person whose blood you're drinking or the death of your Primarch, which is what leads to the Black Rage. Yeah, spoiler for next episode, but Sanguinius is dead, guys.
So what do they? So they sort of they have sort of flashes of memory of it, or what?
Yeah, so because their gene seed is obviously linked, like everyone's gene seed, back to their Primarch, and in some cases the Blood Angels have literally drank from a cup that
Yeah, I'm gonna
that
mention
includes
that.
the
Yeah,
blood of
Yeah.
Sanguinius,
yeah.
and they've got this hyperactive taste memory. Some of them get lost to what's called the Black Rage, which is essentially their mind goes to a place where they think they are Sanguinius fighting for his life against his brother, and they're just lost to it. That is the connection. And there's some chapters that are even more succumb to it even more. But if
Yeah.
they don't succumb to this blood drinking, there's a heavy chance they might go literally mad, thinking they are their Primarch fighting for his life.
Oh yeah, that's what it is, don't they? They just lose all control and um they think they're Sanguinius. Brilliantly, isn't that's dramatized in the Warhammer Plus Blood Angel series, which I can't remember.
Yes.
What's that called? So whatever it's called, it's pretty
Don't
good.
know.
There's a
Well,
long, it's like 11 episodes.
I was listening to a good short story today that was about a guy who was like, he's in this like unwinnable battle, so he just lets himself succumb to like the black rage, but then he gets saved like last minute, and he's just like mental. And this chaplain comes and he's like, "You're going to have to join the what they called the Death Guard.
Company.
That you're going to have to join the Death Company now.
Not joining the Death Guard. That's a real punishment.
Yeah, no, that's you really smell bad after that. You're gonna have to join the Death Guard. But he's like, oh, you're gonna have to join the Death Company now. And then like the next part of it is like from his point of view, and it's just him like remembering like random bits of battle that also coincide with him like thinking that he's Sanguinius, like fighting people. It was really good actually.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, when it's written well, it's written like with those flashbacks, like you can see the Talon of Horus coming at him and all of this stuff. And I think it's cool because it's lore that leads directly to like a unit on the board. So people play these Death Company because if you start coming to this Black Rage, 99.99% of the time you ain't coming back. You are essentially a lost cause, and you are put in these units that are often jump pack units and
They're
sent
just
in to
berserkers.
fight. They're just berserkers, and you
Yeah.
fight and fight and fight until you die or you're lost completely. You can't even speak.
Don't don't they that if the Blood Angels are victorious, they kind of end up having to fight the Death Company because the Death Company will just fight. They'll just fight everything.
What do you do with them? Do you just have to like put them in a box or something?
Yeah, basically, I think sometimes they put them in a box, sometimes they put them down.
All right.
Sometimes they leave them on a planet if they've desolated it. You know, it's you don't come back unless you're one sexy motherfucker, because there's only one Blood Angel that's ever survived succumbing to the Black Rage, and it's only Mephiston himself.
Yeah, the man, the legend.
Which I think we mentioned in our Armageddon episode a few episodes ago, because that's where he does it, buried under like 20 stories of rubble. He manages to fight his way out, and
that's right. And his nipples got so hard they poked right through his armor.
That's right. Right.
That process that you mentioned about drinking the blood is insanguination, where it's a process that the Blood Angel Legion developed that happens at the same time as implanting the gene seed within an aspirant. It's to say it happens at the same time, and obviously that comes to an end when Sanguinius dies, but they have some blood left in the Red Grail, which is where the Grail symbolism comes from, that is all over the Blood Angels. But the blood in the Red Grail couldn't stay fresh, so they inject the Sanguinius's blood into the sanguinary priests, which is what those special Blood Angel characters are. So they become the living hosts of Sanguinius because they have his actual blood in their veins,
running in their veins, which is quite a high risk scenario. You know, with people like Fabius Bile wandering around, you know.
Well, at least put them in Terminator armor or something, you know.
But that's where, because there's so many rumors about all the flaws that they have, and it could be a flaw because of this
Well,
the blood thing that they do. It could be
I
to do
think
with where they're from. It could be to do with just a flaw in the Emperor's work, like other legions.
Well, I think that one of the things that's so cool about the Blood Angels is, like you say, they've got all these flaws, and it's a bit like, when we talk typically about like the Night Lords, say, we go, oh, when you look at them on paper, you're like, why would you make these guys or whatever? Well, I feel like the Blood Angels are like the reason why they're the exception that proves the rule, because looking at them on paper, it's like, oh, they're berserkers that drink blood or whatever, and they're basically vampires kind of thing. You're like, oh, what's that? That sounds like a recipe for disaster, but they're cool because of because they've overcome it, kind of thing. That's what makes them cool,
That's-
There's 2 chapters before we go on to like the structure of the Blood Angels whole that I think sum up these flaws really well. So these are both second founding chapters. There are color schemes for these in Rogue Trader, like these are way back when. And the first is the Blood Drinkers. So do you guys know much about these? They're the ones with the chalice symbol on their arm. They're basically all red, and they've got like chalice with a blood drop on top of it.
Yeah, these are. I was reading about these guys earlier. Actually,
They're pretty badass. So they basically kind of conquered the Black Rage. They don't really do the Black Rage, but it's kind of because they've succumbed entirely to the Red Thirst. So these guys like really lean into one flaw over the other.
Excellent.
And they've got this kind of crazy ritual that they do where they have serfs who like offer themselves to them like vampires in vampire stories, who are like, yes, drink
Oh,
from
God.
me, daddy. And they have this ritual where they drink from some of them, and those are willing serfs, and then they slaughter one who's unwilling, and they eat the corpse. So like 12 of them will gather around, they'll each drink from their serf, and then one of the serfs will be killed at random, and the 12 Space Marines will eat the corpse, and they call it blood given, blood taken, and it's how they manage to keep the things at bay. But it all links back to this little tale with an angel on a hill. So there was a fella called Holos who climbed what I thought was Mount Calcium at first, but is Mount Calicium. And upon the top of Mount Calicium, Holos of the Blood Drinkers met an angel who came to him. And there's lots of angel symbolism and lots of angel visits in the Blood Angels. And this angel described to him how to take part in this rite of Holos, where it's the blood given and the blood taken. But it turns out that angel won't know angel at all. It was old Kairos Fate Weaver of Zechian feathered fame. So he appeared to this guy as an angel, and essentially the bargain that was made with this Holos character was that every now and then Fate Weaver will make one of the blood drinkers succumb to the Black Rage, and instead of seeing the visions of Sanguinius fighting, he will be tested by the boons of chaos. And if any one blood drinker falls to the boons of chaos whilst he's being tested under the Black Rage, then the entire chapter is doomed to chaos. So it was a kind of like a bargain on the hill to keep these flaws in check.
Well,
Either knowingly or unknowingly, it's kind of unsure with Kairos Fate Weaver. So there's potentially this whole chapter of Space Marines that's out there that could fall to chaos.
the Inquisition needs to hear about this. That is too close to the.
Yeah.
I mean, the Blood Angels are like you were kind of saying as well, Stoney. The point, their point of interest, but they are so close to chaos. There's so many.
So close, and it's
I
so
mean, I
much
guess
corn
the
symbolism
Dark
as well.
Angels are. The Dark Angels aren't even. I mean, the
I guess
loyalist Dark
half the
Angels.
Dark
they're
Angels are chaos, though.
Yeah,
But I do feel like they're the
These guys
sketchiest loyalist chapter, but they're also like, they feel pretty. I don't think they're only gonna fall to themselves.
yeah. The
Well,
whole chapter won't fall.
If the risk of these blood drinkers falling to chaos wasn't enough for you boys, their gene seed mutation, are you ready for this? Is to have extremely dry skin.
Curse you, chaos! Curse you, Fate Weaver!
So yeah, I thought that those are one of the second founding that's obviously clearly directly linked to that Red Thirst, and then there's a second founding chapter called the Flesh Terrors, which very much are succumbed to the Black Rage, and I'm going to read you just a little quote from their original chapter master called Nasir Amit. And he says,
Men crave food, they crave flesh, they crave power. We are not men, the Emperor's angels. His space marines crave honor, they crave retribution, they crave justice. We are no angels. We are the blood sons of Sanguinius. We crave only violence, only bloodshed. There is no void in the deep of our souls, only the hunger and an insatiable call to slaughter.
So that was their original fella, Nasir Amit, laying the groundwork for what would become one of the most brutal Space Marine chapters to exist, really.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of pissed off that he had to make a secondary chapter anyway, didn't he? Because he's got quite a good quote where he's slagging off Guilliman as well, being like, we're all fucking blood angels. Stop making us make other blood angels. I'm so pissed off. I'm going to tear up a bunch of people.
That's it. And he's got a massive sword as well. So it's like a double length chain sword. And he's kept around because like he famously just says what he likes. So a lot of the blood angels are very like deferent towards the situation, but he would always be at like Sanguinius's right hand man, just telling it as it is, rather than like trying to put pretty words to things. Like you say, Stoney, he slags off Gilliman. He doesn't like the fact that the chapters, the legions are being split up into chapters. He doesn't see the point. But he was very much on Terra as Sanguinius is dying. So he is like the first person to succumb to the Black Rage, basically, because as Sanguinius is losing it, all of the Blood Angels on Terra go fucking nuts and start killing everything, including other loyalist Space Marines. And so it's part of him
Siege
kind
of Terra
feels
at the
like
end of Horus Heresy.
right at the end of the Horus Heresy, yeah. So he is like kind of haunted by that massacre that he killed all of these loyalists at the same time, but can't really get away from the fact that he is just brutal. And I guess it's kind of, he is kind of like the Death Company leader before the Death Company exist. And they're basically given a ship by the Imperium because the Imperium realize they can't really control these guys, but they're pretty good in a fight. And the Flesh Terror chapter, once it's created, crusades for 3,000 years with the one goal. Malcador's dead at this point. I guess Dawn, Gilliman, whoever's in charge at that point, tells them, you just have to go and take back Horus Worlds. And news starts getting back to Terra that the Flesh Terrors aren't just taking back the Horus Worlds. They're like massacring the entire planet. But the High Lords of Terra don't really care because their like success rate is so good. They're like, carry on, another 1,000 years, 3,000 years of Flesh Terrors, keep going. And eventually, Nasir Amit settles the Legion on a planet called Cretaceous, which is the most Flesh Terror homeworld you can imagine. Imagine Catachan, so jungles, swamps, horrible beasties, massive insects, but also dinosaurs.
Excellent.
And that's their homeworld.
Crazy Space Marines and dinosaurs.
Crazy Space Marines, dinosaurs, and their recruits are essentially cavemen. And the word obviously comes from Cretaceous period in our language, but in Baal language it means the birth of wrath. So fast forward to modern day, and Gabriel Seth is their current chapter master, who's got a great model. Can you imagine
being a caveman and being recruited to become a space marine? You're like rubbing two sticks together and like got like a loincloth on, and a spaceman comes down and makes you join the space army. Oh mate, that'd be mental.
The Flesh Terrors have really been fleshed out over recently.
I think they're one of the coolest. They're the coolest Blood Angels successor color scheme. That deep, almost purple red with the black pauldrons. So they've got a fucking like circular saw blade as their symbol with a blood drop in it. That's cool as fuck. Like I love the Flesh Terrors, man. They're not great to work with though. They frequently kill their allies, and they've been known to use cyclone torpedoes against other loyalist chapters who've witnessed them losing their shit.
Because they can't let the secret come out.
Yeah, the Imperium try and rein them in, but kind of fail.
Well, I'll just rewind the clock at first back to the Legion. to back before all of this, all of these future characters from places like the Flesh Tearers, dramatically different to what the Legion was originally. And Welsh, you kind of introduced the Legion a bit. So it's the Ninth Legion, and they, as you say, they have a peerless mastery of the close assault. And partly that's also because they actually have the longest lifespan of Space Marines, and it's not really clear why. That could be a quirk of their
Vampires.
gene seed, or the vampires. They use it to do things like art, but also they have many hours to practice things like melee combat, and obviously they get a lot of experience of actual warfare. So it's kind of led to their speciality being close assaults. And you were saying as well that they were kind of left to their own devices at the beginning before Sanguinius came. And they were actually quite a small legion before Sanguinius came. So they weren't really deployed on a big scale. So that was another reason for them just being kind of left to their own devices. They were kind of there. They were just sort of in the back. They're just sort of ignored. They were quite fierce. I think you said that as well, Welshie. Their officers were enforced discipline with force. So they're quite different. And when Sanguinius does appear on the scene, he does change them quite dramatically. They also increase in number. So by the time they move to Baal, with Sanguinius leading them, he kind of rebuilds the structure of the Legion to become about 200 companies of 300 warriors in each, and they're grouped together in hosts, so like army groups essentially that go out in different places in the Great Crusade, some being led by Sanguinius. He also creates this parallel, like a lot of the legions have, like a parallel command structure called spheres. There's 3 spheres. Essentially, it's just sort of divided up by rank. It's kind of a funny system, but he creates over time a legion that's like completely different to what it was pre Sanguinius. And by the end of the Great Crusade, the Blood Angels are almost the preeminent legion in the Imperium. They're at the forefront. They're like the vanguard of many campaigns. What's the one where they have to get saved by the insurrect, the
Is
insect?
that on Murder?
Yeah, Murder. Yeah,
Mm.
they're kind of sent there
The
because
mega
they're
arachnids.
the mega arachnids. I mean, they don't win there; they have to get saved, but they're kind of sent there because they're the preeminent close combat, deadly legion that will just go in and fuck shit up. Because their tactic has become deploying from the sky in a single devastating assault. And they get a reputation like some of the other close combat legions. So some of the human worlds that they try to bring into compliance will surrender before they have to go into combat with them. And because they're kind of angelic, the Blood Angels, be it Sanguinius or one of his commanders, one of his praetors, will talk to the human world. Wars of ultimatum. So the Legion goes to these planets and says, "You've got this is your one chance to peacefully join the Imperium, or if you don't embrace unification, then you will face your day of revelation," which is essentially when the Blood Angels, potentially led by Sanguinius himself from the front, will take part in a devastating airborne assault,
Who do
close
they send
combat.
to have that conversation? Because you can imagine. Can you
They
imagine being
send-
like, you're the guy like in charge of Planet X, right? And they
Yeah.
send a space marine, and that's quite intimidating. And you go, okay, cool, yeah. Well, actually, we're not gonna go for that. Thanks very much. We're not gonna join you. And then like the next week, you see a fucking angel with a spear fall out the sky. They
Yeah.
should send Sanguinius every time.
Well, they do.
You know?
They-
Oh, okay, he's
if-
in that
if-
delegation.
Yeah,
He,
if
he
he's- if
he's the one
he's-
that gives them the ultimatum.
Yeah,
Okay.
if he's there in that particular host, he'll go down there.
Okay,
And
that's
his
good.
and that's where.
Because I feel like it's unfair to not show them the angel before
Oh no,
they're
they
choosing.
do. And even the so if he's not in that particular area of the galaxy and his commander goes down of that host, they're still fairly angelic. So the not only do they have the reputation of being like you don't want these guys to come and assault you. They have that reputation, but also when they take their helmets off, they're like human perfection in front of their eyes. Obviously, Sanguinius has got his wings. The visual awe is enough, but backed up with the knowledge that they're going to fuck you up is enough for a lot of worlds to just be like, you know, these guys are like perfect angels. Fine, we're just fine. We'll comply. We'll join the Imperium. So they kind of have.
I'd like that conversation
They
with
have both
Kurz.
aspects. Yeah.
Kurz going, hang on a minute. You're telling me we don't have to just kill everyone. We can offer them a chance.
Yeah. But yeah, needless to say, if the option is turned down, then the Blood Angels, the Legion by the end of the Great Crusade is just has perfected the art of landing in flyers or drop pods or teleportation. They've perfected that skill. Towards this point, they're about 120,000 Space Marines strong. It's one of the largest legions, so it's gone from sort of a backwater rearguard legion into like the vanguard of the Imperium, and spread across the galaxy, leading large scale operations. And they have quite a big fleet, as you can imagine, and they have lots of ships as well as battleships that are fitted to serve the orbital assaults that they have perfected. After the heresy and the awful events that leads to Sanguinius's terrible death, which we will speak about in part 2, this is obviously a great shock to the Blood Angels, mentally, as we've discussed, but they're also shocked by the heresy itself, by the fact that the Space Marine legions could do this to each other. And you've named an oddity, Walshy, but for the most part, the Blood Angels are kind of on board with Guilliman's plan to create the Codex Astartes and break up the legions, because they see what the legions have been capable of doing to each other. So there's also a lot of confusion at this time because they're suddenly without the Primarch, so there's no clear line of succession. There's a sole survivor of the Sanguinary Guard, which is the guard that protect the Primarch. He's a guy called Azeklion, and
Is this the guy who in Imperium Secundus, that little bit of time which we'll talk about more when Sanguinius is emperor, he has one of his Sanguinary Guard becomes his herald, and they literally melt the mask of Sanguinius's face onto this guy's face, so he can't take the helmet off. And he's like the mouth of Sanguinius. I'm pretty sure that's this
maybe.
guy.
I mean, we'll have to check that for the next episode. Tune in to find out. But he sort of leads the Legion through this process, and he ensures that the Legion is divided up into the chapters. And he is partly responsible for the creation of chapters including the Flesh Terrors, the Angels Vermilion, the Angels in Carmine, and the Angels Sanguine. Imagine to name a few. And all of these successor chapters become known as the Sanguinary Brotherhood. So they're all the chapters that descend from the Blood Angels.
It's interesting that that character, because he has always existed in the lore as this kind of marginal character, because the Siege has really built up Ralderon as the leader of the Blood Angels post Sanguinius. So I don't know. I wonder whether that guy is going to get retconned or not going forward into the Scouring. But the way the Siege very much ends as Ralderon, you're now in charge. So, but I'd like to see more of that character in the Scouring going forward, because he has been like in the background lore for a long time.
And the Blood Angels, they play like I mean, they're one of the main forces in the Siege and the end of the Siege of Terror, aren't they? So
it's quite interesting that first book in the Scouring that they've just released with like some of it's told you get a bit from Ralgeron's viewpoint of like he's now in the room with the Primarchs, and he's a
Yeah.
Space Marine that has to
He's
step
not the
up at this
Primarch.
point in
Yeah.
time, and it's like
Yeah. Yeah, so you'd expect in these new arc of books, the Blood Angels to have like a key role,
yeah,
even though they are Primarchless. I mean, the Iron Hands at this point are just sort of lost, aren't they? But the Blood Angels are still like really
I mean
one of
they're
the
all there
preeminent.
on Terra, ready to
Yeah.
go, you know.
Um, and the interesting thing about, so we've sort of started to mention the other successor chapters, but they all tend to suffer from the same gene flaws. There's no, I mean, they've some try to fight it, but
Other than that dry skin, you gotta watch out for that.
yeah. And even so, come 40k, the Blood Angels are still one of the most celebrated chapters in the entire Imperium. They're one of the key chapters, as we discussed in Armageddon. Dante, their chapter master, has played a key role in lots of campaigns. Due to recent events, though, they were severely depleted in number. We mentioned a few times that Baal has been fucked. The devastation of Baal, which is when the Tyrannid of, it's Leviathan, wasn't it?
It was Leviathan, yeah. It's where your boy Dante, at 1,100 years old, kills the
Yes.
Swarm Lord to save, well, I mean, save what's left of Baal.
Hmm.
And then kind of dies in the process. And as he's dying, he has a near-death experience, and he's like, "I can finally die. I've lived for 1,100
turn him
years." And he gets a vision of Sanguinius, who says, "Nah, get up, mate. You're gonna be Gilliman's right-hand man."
And that's when he's Primarisified, isn't he?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah,
But they
hardest working guy in the Imperium.
so
His name's Luis. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
It's
Dante?
Luis Dante.
Luis
Excellent.
Dante.
And this is like the weird, they have that Italianate naming, don't they? They're like the characters in Space Hulk, and Dante's Inferno. So he's Italian, isn't he? Yeah. So they have the artistic links, and all of the Space Hulk Terminators named after the turtles, the Ninja Turtles. But after the devastation of Baal, the chapter is pretty wrecked, and because it's the home planet of the Legion, they've kind of they've blown the trumpets. They've called for the sanguinary brotherhood to come and defend Baal. So there's lots of successor chapters helping the Blood Angels at this time. The Blood Angels nearly lose. It's only the Great Rift and the consequent Gilliman's Indomitus Crusade that sort of turns the tide against the Tyranids. And because of the depletion, all of the successor chapters kind of get together and share recruits and neophytes, and they sort of spread the up and coming young Space Marines around so that they can rebuild the chapters. And obviously Gilliman turning up with loads of new Primaris Marines and saying, "Here, have these Space Marines." It's kind of timely aid from Gilliman, replenishing their losses.
Yeah, for sure. I did see like with the Primaris thing as well, because you wonder when Cool's doing the Primarisifying, like why he doesn't get rid of the floor. Because I remember a lot of people saying like, "Well, hang on a minute, how is there still Death Company?" And apparently there is a bit written into the law where Cool's like, if there's any flaws, the Emperor must have put them there, so I'm not going to bother removing them, and then just carrying on. Like
Yeah.
he can see it and he doesn't care.
He's got to rewrite quite a lot of code, really. That's
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Cool, because the one of the successor chapters that caught my eye, partly because they have a yellow color scheme, which I thought was kind of different for a Blood Angels successor chapter, which are mostly red, other than the sanguinary models that are gold. The Lamenters are a Space Marine chapter that was founded and possibly aided by the AdMech in removing floor, where they may have tried to tweak with the gene seed. It's not clarified, but the Lamenters have really tried to remove the effects of the Black Rage and the Red Thirst, and they kind of have. They kind of succeed in removing those effects, but in a strange twist of fate, they've also created extraordinarily bad luck for themselves. So they're a Blood Angels successor chapter that don't really suffer from the effects, but they're just like if they're just really bad, and it's sort of insinuated that maybe, the thing that makes the Blood Angels good is their flaw.
Which links back to the art.
It's all
thing.
part of the building blocks, isn't it? You can't take away one bit. But it is kind of, I do wonder with the, like, it's not, the flaw isn't a part of, like, it doesn't represent a part of the Emperor, does it? Because it's not supposed, like, each Primarch is supposed to be a bit of the Emperor, but it's like, is the blood drinking come from the Emperor? Is that an Emperor thing, or is that is that just a fuck up in the gene seed kind of?
No, I'd say that. No, I think that's like a chaos thing.
Because
reckon. That's the for me. Sanguinius is like the perfect aspect of the Emperor. Like,
I know we're going to talk about him next time as well, but like obviously, but does Sanguinius want to drink blood as well? Is that a part of it? Is he like? Because if so,
I think he does.
Yeah,
I think he does.
I thought so too.
But I don't think that's part of the. I would say that's more part of the chaos fiddling,
right?
And that's the hint towards, like, Khorne.
Something happening.
Like, there's something to do with Khorne having a fiddle with him. When he's being shot across the galaxy, like all the other ones get something wrong with them. I don't think the Emperor bred the flaws into them, but I think the Emperor bred the aspects of his personality.
Right, I see.
Yeah, so it's his perfection. But just talking of how the Lamenters and the Admech tried to remove the flaw, potentially using technology, the Blood Angels themselves in 40k, the chapter, tries to fight the effects as well. So we've said that they have really long lifespans. Dante is the oldest Space Marine alive, and the partly what the Blood Angels do is they, as the urges build, they have to try and fight the urges, and to do that, they spend periods of time sleeping in a casket where they get a blood transfusion. And the casket is
coffin shaped, is it?
Is coffin shaped. And it's called something. I haven't written it down here, but there's a name for them, which is essentially coffin. They're living for like several centuries. So they're spending hours getting these blood transfusions that essentially clean every drop of blood within their body.
Oh my god, they're like that guy. What's that fucking guy that gets his son's blood transfused?
Oh, the anti-aging
guy. To live
guy.
forever.
Yeah.
Is he the first Blood Angel?
He is kind of white.
Brian
He's
Johnson.
Very pale.
Is that his name?
He's very pale. Funny looking guy.
He does look like it.
So this is one of the ways that the chapter tries to battle this flaw, and they do keep it secret, don't they? They try and keep it secret from as many people as they can. It's kind of their...
I think like Gilliman knows about it now. I think it's like an open secret amongst the top bods that they have this issue.
Yeah, doesn't he find out when he comes to Baal? Quite recently.
Gilliman, I think it's within 40k that Gilliman finds out about it, but then maybe it's going to be elaborated on in the scouring stuff.
By that time, he's already banging that elder, so he can't really say too much about what's going on.
Yeah. And as we say, the one of the main differences between the chapter in 40k and the Legion in 30k is that by the 41st millennium, the chapter is obviously a lot smaller. It's 10 companies, each led by a captain. So the very down the line, codex compliant, typical chapter, but they have the Death Company, which makes them different. And they have the sanguinary priests, which also makes them different. And they have lots of flyers. So we mentioned it in the aircraft episode, I think, in Top Gun. But they were the first. They were the first Space Marine Codex to get the Storm. Oh, what's the ship called? The Storm Hammer
Thunderhawk
gun.
or
The
Storm
plastic
Talon,
kit,
the little
Storm
one.
Raven, the Storm Raven gunship,
Yeah.
the transport. So that they were the first codex that you could use it in, and actually I've never really understood why until reading for this episode, where suddenly it's really obvious. It's because it's their close combat assault ship. I think it was like 5th edition or 6th edition when the model came out, and you could own for a time you could only use that plastic flyer in the Blood Angels Codex. So their rules, as you'd expect, are shown on the tabletop. And the Blood Angels model ranges, like they've always had loads of HQ characters. Obviously, there's sanguinary priests. They've got a few named characters.
They've got the
kind of like the
Sanguinor as
Ultramarines.
well.
The Sanguinor,
which-
yeah.
Which is an interesting concept, isn't it? He's the guy with all of the parchment flowing off of them. The only remaining golden fella with wings in the range.
Yeah.
But kind of floating up with the cup. And no one seems to really know who he is. I think he falls smack bang in our good demons hypothesis that we come back to a number of times. But is he part of the spirit of Sanguinius? Is he part of the spirit of that first sanguinary guard, Matt, that you mentioned, Acalion or whatever
Yeah, because
his name was?
he wears the mask, doesn't he? He's
He
got
wears
the mask of
that
Sanguinius.
same
It's like
mask. So
the death mask.
like who is this fella that turns up? But he only turns up when everything's about to get fucked. It does some fucking up, and most people don't remember him because most people don't live to have seen him. He appears in some people's dreams. So he's kind of an interesting end times character that they've got. That's
Yeah.
no one's got comparative to that in the Space Marine model range. I don't think some kind of like
No, demonic potentially.
mystical demonic
Yeah.
figure like
Appears when you need
Celestine's
him.
there, but not in the Space Marine side.
Yeah, yeah, and as I say, they've now been reinforced a lot by Primaris Marines, so they're going through another era of sort of reorganization. But they're still there and they're still leading the charge, and now it appears they're going to be leading the charge onto Armageddon again.
Leading the charge into the Games Workshop stores near you. Pick up your 11th edition box set.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Blood Angels are back and better than ever. Don't believe the old rumours of vampirism, that's just hearsay from zealous Ultramarine fans. Take a look at the new and improved Blood Angels and tell me they're vampires. Coincidentally, this range launches with some new paint colours, Caribbean Delight Flesh Tone, and Llama Smile Dental Surgery and Cosmetic Clinic White. And that's not blood they're drinking in those carafes, that's energy drinks because they're hip and radical. So thanks for listening. I've been Fat Les and this has been the Large Blast Podcast, presented by Shady FX Talent Company. We'll see you next time.